around 1895 till maybe 1917, until the World War I, ragtime became the dominant American popular music.
I think it's a very special sound from long, long ago. The tunes, for the most part, are simple little ditties that everybody can hum or whistle if they want to.
To hear somebody play it that really knows how to play it, it's just a thrill.
When you're into ragtime, you become involved in a sense of history. And Sedalia, really, it's like a religious cult.
If you want to go to a ragtime festival, it's virtually the only one. This is the home of classic ragtime, what was called the Cradle of classic ragtime.
At the turn of the century, the Iron Horse had come to Sedalia. The mid-Missouri town was a junction for 2 rail lines, each employing hundreds of workers. Sedalia was vying to become the state capital, claiming itself as a center of finance, commerce, and culture. In 1896, a young, itinerant musician by the name of Scott Joplin stepped off the train and into Sedalia. In a few short years, he would make Sedalia and ragtime famous.
Sedalia was a town that attracted musicians. Why? It had employment for musicians. It was a railroad town. The farmers, the ranchers would bring their produce, their livestock here for shipment. There were 2 railroad repair yards in town. So it was a town that always had a lot of men with loose change in their pocket away from home. There had to be places of entertainment. So there were pool halls, there were saloons, there were gambling houses, and there were brothels. And many of these places employed musicians. That may have been one of the reasons why Joplin came into town.
It's a great time. Sedalia, of course, really the home of ragtime, the place where Scott Joplin lived and worked, where his famous Maple Leaf Rag was published, performed 1899. John Stark, his publisher, who had a small music store here, came out of retirement to publish this young black man and many others to follow in a very successful career in publishing this then very revolutionary music.
The Maple Leaf Rag, named after the saloon Joplin worked in, became the biggest selling rag of all time, crowning Scott Joplin the king of ragtime.
If you think last year was good, you won't believe what we have this year.
Today, the site of the Maple Leaf Club is where Sedalia kicks off its Scott Joplin Ragtime Festival.
I was talking to a member of this community, and they said, we're seeing license plates from all over the United States in town. You know, why is that? And I said, because we're having an internationally famous festival. Then he said, here in Sedalia? Why? How would Sedalia rate that? Well, we rate that because we are the birthplace of ragtime.
Each year, fans from around the world come to the birthplace of ragtime to tap their feet to a lively, syncopated beat.
Well, the best way I can explain it is if I were to take, say, a folk song like My Old Kentucky Home. You know, the old folk song, My Old Kentucky Home. And rather than the melody falling on the beat like that, if I delayed any of those notes that would normally have fallen on the strong beat, like that one, and that one, and that one, it might sound something like this. of course, the left hand is keeping up a constant rhythm. And of course, adding the odd note to bridge the melody a little bit. And again. And maybe some appropriate fills from the period. That's the best way I can illustrate it. And that when you shift the melody off the strong beat onto the weaker part of the beat, then you're saying the music is syncopated. And that is the real basis of ragtime.
In ragtime, everything is thrown away. The left hand continues that strong beat, just like the rhythm section in a dance band or the tubas and trombones and drums in a marching band. The left hand keeps that going, but the right hand is dancing all over the place and accenting everything else. So you've got this even going in the left hand, and the melody is doing. So, working together with the with all of the wrong accents, according to the conservatories, going on in the melody, and all the right accents going on in the bass, and it creates an excitement that just builds on itself because all of this extra rhythm is going on. It's great fun.
This became the first American musical speech, and it was recognized that way at the time.
Ragtime song, when it became popular all over the world, of course, made singers, even English singers, sing in an American accent. I mean,
Ian Whitcomb first came to America in the 60s as a novelty rock and roll singer. But American music, especially ragtime, became his passion.
My cutie's due at 222. She's coming home on the big choo-choo. She's been away for months, but I haven't cheated once. Stayed home nights, didn't dance, wasn't taking any chance. I didn't flirt, and though it hurt, I just couldn't do my fiancé dirt. My days were blue.
Because I think that ragtime reflected the new America, the 20th century life of the skyscraper, the quick lunch, the motor car, the plane, the fastness of today's life.
Well, there is because my cutie's due at 222 today. Go, Nicky!
Ragtime was not only a reflection of America's new technology, it was also a record of the country's changing social values.
Stayed home nights, didn't dance, I wasn't taking any chance, didn't flirt, and though it hurt, I just couldn't do my cutie dirt. My days were black, my nights were blue, but I just knew that she'd come back, 'cause she loves me, and I love her the same. Tonight we'll disconnect the phone, because we want to be alone. My cutie's due at 222 today. Yes, sir.
Alexander's Ragtime Band. This is, on the surface, this came out in 1911. On the surface, it's a song about a gentleman with presumably a colored band. But actually, beneath it, and I think this is why it was a success, it is a song saying, come on in here, come on here, come and join in the party. What was the party that was going on then? The party was this. The people, Americans, the middle class, for the first time, were coming out of their homes. They weren't staying at home at night quite so much. They were coming out to go to the new cabarets, to go to the dance halls. That was unheard of in the past. You never went to a dance hall with your wife. And this is new. Come on in here, come on in here. Alexander's Ragtime Band. Come on, get out, join the fun. Okay, so what, I mean, do you want to hear a, what should we, well, let's do this.
Oh, my honey, better hurry and let's meander. Ain't you going to the leader man, raggy meter man? Oh, my honey, better hurry to Alexander's stand. Ain't you coming along? Come on here.
Irving Berlin was just one of the musicians who cashed in on the ragtime phenomenon. Throughout America, musicians were creating what became the rock and roll of its day.
This was the music, after all, of youngsters. Popular music always belongs to the kids. And ragtime was America's first popular music. The music that you're hearing in the background right now was probably written by some kid about 19 years old in 1902 or 1903. We think of them as old-timers. No, they weren't. They were the youngsters that brought on a new kind of music.
They had their own style, but they adhered to the form. And it developed regionally. There is a Missouri style of ragtime which can even be subdivided into urban and country style. And the chief exponent of that, of course, would be Blind Boone of the country style. And the city style would be represented by Scott Joplin.
Joplin himself was trying to write a higher quality ragtime. He did not want to be known simply as a composer of ragtime songs, of ragtime piano music. He wanted to be viewed as an artist, as a serious artist.
Joplin himself said, the entertainer. He was an entertainer. And Joplin wrote ragtime because that was the thing to do at that time, but as he proved, he could write a perfectly good waltz or a march. He was a composer.
Joplin was simply a superior composer. He was a composer who was very much aware of what he was doing in technical terms. To the tiniest minutia, he would notate music that was absolutely correct academically. As I said, he was interested in education. He would write music that had great subtlety and at the same time great drive. I suppose what made him popular, of course, was the great drive behind the music. Anyone who heard the Maple Leaf Rag loved it, which is why it was the biggest selling of all rags.
Scott Joplin was a rare genius, and there is no doubt that his music would have held up in any environment, in any society, because it would have been like trying to bury Mozart. I mean, Scott Joplin was a great man.
It's been over 100 years since Scott Joplin played the saloons and brothels of Sedalia. In the 1990s, Sedalia has become a center of industry. Yet, you don't have to look far to find signs of Sedalia's past. The memories of ragtime and Scott Joplin are as close as a picnic bench on a hot summer day.
You have to be pretty old to go back, and we were trying to figure out now just exactly where he was, but he lived on Cooper, and he went to school here, and he played right where they're at now.
Just now, I used to dance when I was a kid. Yeah, I used to get out on the floor and swing up my head. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, but I'm old stiff now. My leg won't get no place. Another fella played music, Blind Wesley. He played the music up there, and I'd go up there and tap dance. Well, I'd pick up all that silver money on the floor, you know, they throw it back. I'd get all of it.
My teacher talked to us about, what waltz is this? Maple Leaf Rag. She taught us about Mrs. Viola Kenny. She taught us about that. So it went through our minds, but after that, when you grow up, we had forgotten all about that until now, until everybody brought it back.
Is it worth bringing back?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It's history. Yes, it is.
It was always Joplin's dream to move ragtime out of the saloons and sporting houses and onto the concert stage. In the early 70s, his dream came true as the Scott Joplin Foundation began the Ragtime Festival.
There's more ragtime happening per square inch in Sedalia during this festival than in the rest of the world combined. I mean, if there's ragtime happening on the block, why go anywhere else?
What's it done for this town?
It's growing every year. It keeps growing everything. Yeah, we can see more streams and faces down here now.
Why did you come to Sedalia?
Because it's the best ragtime festival in the United States. All the big boys are here and big girls.
I like all the really good musicians that participate. I think that's quite remarkable that that many people from, you know, all over the world come and
It's
join.
the style of music that I like. Because this is about the only place that we know of where they do this sort of thing in a 3-day session where you can hear so many famous ragtime players, and the quality is just simply amazing.
Because I love ragtime music. Isn't that wild?
The people that come for the first time over and over tell me, they say, we just came the first time, we didn't know anything about ragtime, and they're floating out of here. We have had at this festival some of the world's foremost ragtime musicians, without question, world-class people. And we could not afford to do that had they not been able to do it for, as you can imagine, much less than the normal fee, because they think this is important to be here. It's not just fun. They feel it's important that Sedalia keeps this ragtime heritage alive. So I try to only invite the very best we can afford. I have received many letters from people, let's say, making their first appearance. And they don't just say, I had a wonderful time. They say, I had the most sensational, emotional experience of my life.
Singing group. And last year we went to Rome and we sang in St. Peter's Basilica, and afterwards we sang for the Pope at a private audience. And the Pope came down and spoke to us, and he had his hand here with me, and I have this photograph. It was utterly emotional, and it was probably the greatest moment of my life, except maybe when I met my wife. I danced close. And Sedalia is almost, but not quite. Speaking as an Irish Catholic, I can't say that it's as good as the Pope, but close. One of the biggest thrills I got was playing the Maple Leaf Rag at the Maple Leaf site, where Scott Joplin played himself.
A simple memorial marks the site of the Maple Leaf Club. The building itself was destroyed by fire in the early 50s. During festival, though, the site comes alive again as professionals and amateurs share the thrill of playing ragtime in the same spot as Joplin.
I usually play for fun on my own in my living room without much of an audience, and so it was different. It was okay, though.
Curtis and everyone else who plays at the Maple Leaf site is awarded a certificate. Other folks can pick up souvenirs at the Ragtime store. For the serious collector, rare copies of sheet music are traded on the bedspreads of hotel rooms, while upstairs, a reception hall takes on the air of a ragtime saloon, where fans and musicians talk and play ragtime after hours.
The people that are playing are more relaxed, and they kind of, you feel more like they have more of a personality and more of a feeling in their music. And that's the whole secret. We have people play here that wouldn't even get on a stage. They get nervous and jump. Here they have a sense of, well, so what?
Yeah.
Everybody's here and we're having a lot of fun. Everybody's relaxed. Musicians are relaxed and they play what they feel like it.
In a crowd like this, these are all my friends, or they're gonna be, and I'm not worrying. Its roots are in a good, wild roadhouse lounge where everybody's having fun and out for a good time. And it should be performed as good time music, I feel.
Just caught me coming off the dance floor. As you may be able to tell, these ragtime dances from the turn of the century are pretty strenuous dances. The one-step, the two-step, the cakewalk, the hesitation waltz. They have these dancing masters that come to Sedalia every year for the Ragtime Festival to teach everybody how to do these dances, starting off with the Grand March. So, as you can see, it's about like going out and playing a quarter of basketball, but it's a lot of fun.
For one night of the festival, ragtime moves out of the concert hall and into the dance hall.
We love to dance. We love the music. We love the people we meet here. It's a wonderful festival.
The McKennas glide across the floor, thanks to lessons from dance master Professor Desmond and Madam Irene.
And the step is very simple. It's walk, 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 walk. Slow, slow, quick, quick, quick. Most of the people that attended balls in former times went to a dancing school and learned all of the dances.
It's just fun, but it's hard, it's difficult. It takes a lot of stamina, which we don't have. We're getting kind of old.
The Grand March is a really traditional dance. It goes back 500 years and much longer. The Victorian era developed the one we were doing, where the couples move around the room and pair off in twos and fours.
I'm attracted to the old costumes and everything as far as this goes. And I like the beat of the music. It's foot stomping music.
Well, there's something about ragtime which just is in my soul, and it brings out, and I just appreciate it so much, including the dancing to the ragtime music.
Dancing was very important in society for 5 centuries, and I dare say probably before that, because it allowed people to come together and do a little bit of social arranging between the dances. I mean, families would bring their daughters to see who was eligible, and our businessmen, after the aristocracy fell, would go to the most important dances so they could meet possible contacts, you know. It had a very important social function, and how you performed at a ball said a lot about what your future might be going to be, you see.
What will happen, we'd like to invite everyone on the floor now for a cakewalk.
The cakewalk was one of the most popular dances of the ragtime era. The dance's strutting style swept Europe in the early 1900s, but its origins come from around the plantation campfires.
Black slaves in Florida saw it being danced by the Seminole Indians in their war dance, the ceremonial war dance, that particular lifting the knee step, and they took it back with them and copied it and perfected it, as a step. It was a dance contest that they did for their own amusement and also for the, for the company, and they would win a cake or win some money, something like that. So a lot of steps developed in competition to see who could do it the best and win the cake.
Now, before we meet the three final couples, we're going to ask them to do a special exhibition cakewalk. And our winners, step right up here, please. We have your name, Myrtle and Charlie Ray. And Charlie, and where are you from, folks? Sedalia, our first Sedalia winner.
Ragtime was the popular American music for nearly 20 years. Some say its lively sound faded into the shadows of World War I. Others say ragtime evolved into jazz. Yet, throughout the years, ragtime has always had its fans.
When I was in high school, when Frank Sinatra was really going great guns, I was still enjoying ragtime music on old records instead of swooning over Frank Sinatra.
It was Paul Newman and Robert Redford who reintroduced most of us to ragtime. The notes from Scott Joplin's composition called The Entertainer set the mood for the movie The Sting.
Ragtime received a lot of exposure with the movie The Sting. It became extremely popular. It was ragtime was with the top 10 hits for a while, with the rock and roll hits. Now it has faded again, but it will never fade to the obscurity that it had faded to after the ragtime period had itself closed around the time of World War I.
But ragtime's biggest revival came in 1941, when the Lou Waters Yerba Buena Jazz Band recorded 8 rags, one of them a piano solo called The Black and White Rag.
We know that I, really brought a revival, because no one was doing it.
The man at the piano was Wally Rose, and his recording of The Black and White Rag was a hit, even though it wasn't quite what the record producers had in mind.
The people that were sponsoring and paying for this session didn't want that. They figured that we're paying all this money, we want the whole band. We just don't want a piano number in the middle of it. But Lou Waters was adamant about it. He said, no, it's got to have it. So they reluctantly conceded to do that. And so after the records came out, they were very popular throughout the world, actually. Maybe about 5 months after the records were out, Lester Koenig, which was one of the sponsors, he said to me, the piano solo record, Black and White, paid for the whole session. When we made the records, the piano I did that on was a Steinway Grand. And people would say to me, where'd you find that old beat-up piano you're playing, And I said, you're confusing the style of the music with the piano. They envisioned an old barroom piano because I was playing a barroom kind of thing, or atmosphere.
Today, Rose often brings that barroom music to the concert stage, letting the syncopated rhythm guide his fingers, infecting the audience with its ragged, good time sound.
To me, it represents a liveliness, not fast necessarily, and happiness and emotional quality that contains me. Even when I play it, I get all those feelings. Everybody's elated with it. They get charged up from hearing the music.
Would your life be different if you hadn't played ragtime?
Would my life be different?
Yeah.
Probably, yes. because it was like going to a new world, like I wanted to plan a new planet or something.
The Scott Joplin Award Committee hereby bestows the Scott Joplin Award for achievement in the field of ragtime upon Wally Rose on this day, June 8, 1990.
Wally Rose quietly accepts credit for bringing back ragtime and inspiring many of today's ragtime artists.
I know the feeling that I received when I first heard ragtime, and all of us, it's just like a little light bulb going off, and you say, gee, this is a whole new world of music that I never realized, and it's so wonderful. When I see a whole audience beaming and cheering and everything, it makes me feel good to be able to do that for them. I enjoy being able to perpetuate the music of a lot of these great composers, to be able to tell people a little bit about them, who they were, and make people aware of that ragtime was just not written by nameless people. They were real young men and women.
Mary continued to praise Johnny's remarkable ways with a twinkle in her eye. She made this
Novelty vocalist is something that I came up with for a name for it, because usually the kind of music that I like to sing is a little wacky or a little offbeat or has a particularly odd melody or came from a funny place or there's a story behind it. And I sang my OU Cubist Girl last night, and it's so unusual. Who writes about art and posters and two inanimate objects falling in love with one another and weird stuff like that?
Said the girl, you must agree, we're awful things to see.
Said the boy, you seem to be the maid that's made for me. Oh,
You cutest girl, in cute that curl, your little ricky raggy ziggy zaggy wicky waggy maid.
To me, it's like coming back to the source of American ragtime, and I come here and sing the songs. After all these years of coming to this wonderful festival, is that I still get a sort of almost rejuvenation when I hear these rags again. It's like a wonderful, it's like a nice cold shower after a hot day. They still have a kind of pep to them, an invigorating pep, and it's a sprightly rhythm which we have actually, to a certain extent, lost today.
It's just because I love the music. Right now, it doesn't, at this point in my life, it doesn't matter whether or not I make a fortune doing it. Just as long as I can pay my bills and I can do the things that I love doing, that's the biggie.
When you attend a ragtime festival, particularly in Sedalia, it seems like we are all here to convert America back to its roots in ragtime, the roots of pop music, mostly. You have to be a little bit missionary to do this because there's no money in it.
Well, it's not a religion, but I think that the zeal in which people who have ragtime reflect, it's a genuine enthusiasm that people have for ragtime, and it's catching.
There's something very American and very new world about ragtime. There is a blend there. It's a blend there of a whole lot of cultures. It's like a melting pot. It's like a soup where you throw in a little bit of an ingredient from Africa and a little bit of it from the Spanish population. And so you get that Creole music. In the Midwest, there's a little bit of African, a little bit of that Native Americana, like the Stephen Foster stuff thrown in, and the banjo and the plantation music, and it's all kind of cooked together in one pot, and it comes out like that.
There's also an identity with Irish music in the sense that Irish music, Irish traditional music kind of died for a long time, and there was a major revival in the 60s. And there's a certain sameness that it is actually folk music. And the Irish people do identify with ragtime.
I mean, it speaks of its period to a certain extent. It was America at the turn of the century, the new giant, the young giant flexing its muscles. But it's for all time too, because it's got vigor and drive and makes you feel young again, or young at heart.
People that are here, I've seen it at festivals like this, people that don't know anything about ragtime, they seem to just get happier if they hear it. There's a kind of a bounce to it.
And then he'd roll, roll, roll. A little further he would roll. Oh, how
It suits me to wrap my tongue around lots of words, sing fast stuff. I love Gilbert and Sullivan. And the ragtime music does it for me. It's so, like, busy.
And then he'd roll, bum, 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 roll, bum, 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 roll, oh, 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 ah, beep, beep.
That's the most common question I get is, I never heard of violin ragtime. How do you do that? Well, musically, it's very easy. You play the melody on the violin, and a pianist accompanies. Ragtime was for everyone. It was used as show music, dance music, and it was just as common then to have all instruments playing ragtime as piano.
Enthuses me and makes me want to go home and play my piano more and harder and faster, and gets me all excited.
If I could have been anybody else, I would have been somebody who was able to play this kind of music. Unfortunately, I'm not, so the best I can do is come to this extraordinary growing tradition.
At the turn of the century, if you had a piano, chances are you had a copy of Scott Joplin's Maple Leaf Rag. Between 1899 and 1909, over 1 million copies of the Maple Leaf Rag were sold. If you couldn't play it, you could always pump it out on your player piano. Today, all you need is a computer and this contraption called an Obersetzer. From player pianos to computers, Sedalia continues to nurture ragtime in the hearts and fingers of its future. 14-year-old Megan Wadley is like a lot of other teenagers. When she and her friends get together, it's usually in front of the TV to watch rap and rock and roll videos. But when Megan sits down at the piano, what she plays is ragtime.
It's harder and it's different. And not many people play it. There's so many notes and octaves and it goes fast. It's played faster than most music. I don't like classical that much. I don't know. I guess because ragtime goes so much faster and it's kind of steady. You know, it has a beat. And classical just kind of runs off everywhere. I'm gonna play it always, but I'm gonna play at the festival and stuff. But I'm not gonna be like a professional ragtime person or anything like that. But I'll always play it.